Welcome to another edition of the Truth Gangsters podcast. Tonight's discussion is all about homophobia in Jamaica. Myth or reality? I think we should first start out by defining this word, homophobia. Now, according to the online edition of Encyclopedia, homophobia is a culturally produced fear of or prejudice against homosexuals that sometimes manifests itself in legal restrictions or, in extreme cases, bullying or even violence against homosexuals, otherwise called gay bashing. The term homophobia was coined in the late 1960s and used predominantly by a man called George Weinberg, an American clinical psychologist, in his book Society and the Healthy Homosexual. So the suffix phobia generally designates an irrational fear. In the case of homophobia, the word instead refers to an attitudinal disposition, ranging from mild dislike to abhorrence of people who are sexually or romantically attracted to individuals of the same sex. Now, in 2006, Times Magazine described Jamaica as the most homophobic place on earth, a country that is the worst offender in the Caribbean, a region which they claim has a long history of intense homophobia. And there are many media publications that detail the many examples of homophobia in Jamaica. Vice News, you may remember, created that mini documentary called Gully Queens, which went viral, an investigative piece that exposed the life of some of the members of the LGBTQ community who were allegedly forced to live in the gullies of New Kingston, Jamaica. This came out almost 10 years ago. And still the reputation persists, with various human rights groups calling for the repeal of the anti-buggery laws, the constant persistent cry that Jamaica is still the place where, as Damian Marley said, funny man get dropped like bad habit. But what if I told you that despite this reputation, Jamaica has long been a safe haven for members of the gay community? Some of the most respected and well-loved Jamaicans are either known to be gay or widely suspected of being homosexual. I mean, you can name them. Comes to mind readily Oliver Samuels, Rex Nettleford, who, by the way, happens to have an entire building on our country's university campus named in his honor. Comedians and actors like Shibata, who are openly homosexual, have enjoyed fame and popularity in Jamaica, not just by the upper class. Well, not even by the upper class, the grassroots people who for years flocked to see his plays, making him a household name. Who remembers the British singer Boy George, a gay presenting man whose songs were massively popular in Jamaica? Groups like Air Supply that had hit after hit in Jamaica, who performed in Jamaica over half dozen times, with the band members boldly sporting nail polish on their fingers. A country where one of the most popular and wealthy church leaders in Montego Bay was living with multiple men, where you are likely to see a feminine presenting man in an office more often than a man or woman with dreadlocks. So we often wonder, where is this discrimination that the world speaks of? Where is the hate? Where is the homophobia? For even though we are leading the world in homicide numbers, the murders tend to be gang related or as a result of heterosexual domestic violence. Speaking of violence, word has always been on the street that many of the most ruthless and violent crime bosses are well known in their community to be gay or bisexual. This was buttressed by the Zeke's murder trial, where we heard tape recorded evidence of the Don forcing men to perform fellatio on him. I could go on and on. The incidences of LGBT tolerances are numerous and overwhelming. But even more than the tolerance are the examples in which they flaunt their power. How many of us remember the report by Dr. Brendan Bain and how he was ceremoniously sacked from the University of the West Indies for writing what many saw as an unflattering report on the connection between HIV and gay men? Hmm? So, why does this narrative persist? Who does it benefit? Or is it that the persecution of LGBT in Jamaica has become so normalized that we no longer see it? Hmm. Let's discuss. Thank you for everyone who has joined. I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome all. I look forward to a robust discussion. All views are welcome. Keep it respectful, keep it succinct. Leighton, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing fine, Kishi. Hi to everyone, and thanks to you for such a riveting topic and such a brilliant introduction.
Give thanks. Now,
But
my first question to you, Leighton. Now, I want to be fair. Some persons, in assessing this issue, would compare it to feelings of misogyny. Now, although we are aware that misogyny exists, we do see where women are still violent, women still hold positions of power, women still persecute men, but that doesn't mean that misogyny doesn't exist. Could it be said then that just because we see homosexuals in power, we see little tolerances of homosexual here and there, could it be said that that is not enough to deny the fact that Jamaica is a homophobic place?
mm, that's a good devil's advocate opening. But let me take you back in answering. Let me take you back to the Peter King saga. So, for those who may not remember, Peter King was a very prominent Jamaican diplomat. I don't know, I guess he was an economist, but basically he was somebody that was hugely influential. Whichever political party was in power, he was a major power broker. And basically, a week couldn't pass, and Peter King's picture, name was not on the front page of one of the daily papers. And so he was killed, and in the investigation of his death, it turned out that he had tapes and tapes and tapes of, according to the Daily Gleaner at the time, tapes containing a who's who of the diplomatic, economic, political, and I think social elite of the country, all involved in various homosexual activities. Those tapes have never seen the light of day. I gather that they briefly did before they were reined in, and in a country like Jamaica that has so many leaks and what have you, those tapes have remained under lock and key. Um, I often liken the gay community to the Jewish community. Both have perennial victim status, while both are able to exact serious damage to anyone who crosses them. You only have to be tagged as an anti Semite or as anti gay for the whole wrath of that community to come down on you, which is extremely economically and politically powerful, which totally belies their victimhood status. And so I don't believe if you are being if you are persecuted, you can't have it both ways. You can't be that persecuted and have that much power. You know, when I read accounts of people outside gay bars, outside gay parties with baseball bats and so forth, in very tolerant societies like the United States, never, never in all my years growing up in Jamaica have I ever heard of people lay waiting a gay party to do any such damage. So I think the whole homophobia thing is one big crock of BS. I think Jamaica is one of the most hospitable place for gay people. I think gay people are whichever gay people are persecuted in their communities, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, I'm sure it does. There are other gay people who are very much beloved in those same communities, and so the problem could never be the gayness simpliciter. Those are my opening remarks.
It puts me in the mind of the Gully Queens commercial, not commercial, sorry, the YouTube video that was created
Freudian slip.
where may remember there's a section in it when uh the the documentary maker said to, I believe it was a member of the KSAC, don't recall. But the point is, he said, a lot of these people that live in the gullies, they complain that they're not able to find jobs. And the man looked at him and said, have you seen these people? Would you hire them? And when you said just now that there are gay people, just like any other group in communities, some are loved, some are not loved, it reminded me of that. And I wondered if people didn't take that into consideration. There is a thin line between the right or the freedom to be yourself and also a requirement to fit into a corporate workspace or a workspace where there are so many various different representations of normality. So, very interesting opening points there, Leighton. Kay, welcome to Truth Gangsters. Thank you for joining. What do you have for us this evening?
I was gonna jump off of what Leighton said, but you actually, said it already. I was gonna say it's probably like classism, depending on what class. Upper people get treated differently, than the ghetto people, and the ghetto, and then the ghetto mindset, is not as welcoming. 'Cause I had a cousin that was gay, and they had to run from Jamaica. Yeah, they had to run, left Jamaica. They couldn't stay there no more. So, and and they were from the ghetto.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Kay. I mean, it's a reality, Leighton. A lot of people do feel that they have to flee their communities because they are afraid of violence. My only issue, and I would love you to respond to this, Leighton, is that we never get a full picture. We never get a full picture of why they are being persecuted in their community. We don't know the full backstory. I'm not saying that Kay's family member did not have legitimate reasons, but we often don't hear of the violence that happens amongst gay men, amongst the gay community, um, and the very specific reasons, not just, oh, you're gay, you can't stay here. I mean, being a Jamaican, almost everybody had a gay cousin or a gay uncle growing up. So that wasn't persecuted. So what are your thoughts on that, Layton?
Um, in about 2006, that's what, like 18 years ago. Uh, a taxi man was telling me that he had carried an obviously gay man to Southside. Uh, the man had chartered him. He took him to Southside, and which is, ghetto community, dangerous ghetto community, Central Kingston. And the guy comes out of the taxi, and there's some really dangerous looking thug types at the roadside, and he wondered whether the guy would be safe because the guy was so obviously flamboyantly gay, The guy went through fine, and he called him another day to take him there again, and when he did, same guy is looking well murderous on the roadside, and when he said to the guy, he couldn't hold it anymore, he said, "Aren't you afraid?" And the guy said, "Afraid of what?" And he said, "Afraid of those guys." And he said, "You see where them are wear upon them foot?" And when the taxi man looked, they were all wearing Air Jordans. And the gay fella said, "The whole of them get F for that. So none of them can chat to me." And then, of course, the taxi man became aware that the same Don that the gay guy was going to was the same Don that was sexing all these thugs. And so I have no doubt that there are people who persecuted in some communities because of their homosexuality were forced to seek asylum elsewhere. I also know from people who used to do these asylum applications that many of those stories are not true. And when you ask a question as to why the thing persists, it's a very attractive way of getting to the States, asylum. I know of cases where persons have gotten up, asylum, gay, and gotten married subsequently. So heterosexual marriage. So while, as I say, I have no doubt that it happens, I think the incidence of it is extremely exaggerated. Let me not say extremely, well exaggerated, over exaggerated. There is copious evidence that homosexuality, at one time, homosexuality was thought to be an uptown thing. It's well known to be a downtown thing. At one point, it was thought not to be a bad man thing. It's well known to be a bad man thing. It's well known to be the entertainment industry that used to burn out Batman left, right, and center. It's well known that there are many entertainers who are or are suspected of being, not to mention producers, etc. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen. I'm not going to negate Kay's experience or the experience with her family. It doesn't change my view one bit. Um, it's very Jamaica has been for quite some time and is today as gay friendly a place, I think, as gay friendly a country from top to bottom as you can find anywhere in the world.
I'm thinking of the uptown downtown issue because no doubt Jamaica has an issue with classism. And if it is that the experience of a gay man is significantly worse because of his financial status, why not make it an issue about finances? Isn't it the responsibility of the uptown gays, the more affluent gays, the Peter Kings of the world, to champion this issue of equality? Because they are living and working from a place of power in many cases. Why don't they champion the issues of poor gay men as opposed to making it an issue of Jamaica being a homophobic place? Question for you, Leighton. Who benefits from this false propaganda? Because we all see it. We all see the many instances of LGBT friendly spaces in Jamaica. And some would say it's dominating heterosexual spaces. Who benefits from this propaganda then?
I think the gay community benefits from it. I think they get a lot of funding and grants, the asylum applications. If they are not a persecuted group requiring certain protections and so forth, they just won't get the what have you. They won't get the whatever largesse and special consideration that they are able to attract by virtue of their persecuted status. Um, there was there's a story that came out a few years ago that really incensed me. It was obviously a fabricated story about a person, alleged gay man came on a bus, and the bus people became incensed and kicked him off the bus and came off the bus en masse and beat him before getting back on the bus. And that was just because he looked gay. He looked flamboyantly gay. And if you read the report, you couldn't tell where this bus was, which police station he ran to. It was obvious that the story was it lacked credibility. And it was shared by two prominent um, gay advocates, one of whom is a priest. He's won award for gay advocacy. And I messaged him and said, shame on you. If that article was to do with anything else, you would not have shared it. It's so clear that it was what have you. And I hit back against it. I say you're not gonna find the person's name, nothing. It's a complete hoax. There's no bus in Jamaica. Traversing no route in Jamaica at that time, which was like what, 2, 3 years ago, where people are going to throw somebody off the bus for looking gay and then come off the bus and beat him, and people have place to go. And I was attacked by some people who say, I don't travel every bus in Jamaica and I don't know this or that. So there's this need to hold to this notion that no, nothing don't go so, nothing not go so. So I think that they, like in the same way that the Jews the Jews don't want to come to you and say, listen, we control the politicians, we control the newspapers, we control the finance houses. We're not oppressed anymore. You don't have to feel sorry for us. They'll never do that. You say them nose too big, them say anti-Semite, and you can't eat no food, and your family have to starve. So to me, that's the reason why they do it.
Hilarious. As you said, what can go so remind me of the one of the most popular TikTokers right now in Jamaica, a gay man called Uncle Derek, or sometimes affectionately Auntie Derek. But some of what you said, Leighton, raises issues of covert versus overt homosexuality, the DL phenomenon, and also some overt and covert examples of homosexuality that we see in our culture. So there was a time, for example, when it was unacceptable for a man to bleach. Now the baddest of man bleach. Man calling women brother, women that they are sexually involved with, they're calling their wives, their girlfriends, their baby mothers brother. What does this say, or how does this reflect upon the rising acceptance of queerness in Jamaica? Let's put it that way. When it's cool, or it's a street slang to call a woman a boy, to call a woman a brother, what does that say about queer acceptance in our country?
Before we get to that, you see, before Shibata, every roots play, every roots play that I've ever seen advertised from I was a child has cross dressing in it. Has a man playing a woman and really hamming it up as a woman. Shibata is just the epitomization, or the apex of it. From as a child, every roots play was like that. Um, the There's a friend I had, one of these social philosophers on the corner. He used to run the parking lot in New Kingston. Uh, and he said to me one day, you know, Jamaicans said them burn out Batman, but Batman set the trend. So I said, really? Him say, yeah, like at one time, them burn out man were hearing, where we are hearing, say them a Batman. No, every man a wear earring, especially bad man. Say when man start wear tattoo, they say Uncle Batman wear tattoo. No, mostly bad man wear tattoo. And he mentioned as well what you mentioned. What did he mention? Ish, it slips me.
The brother and the bro.
No, he didn't mention that, but he mentioned and the
Bleaching.
bleaching, the
Bleaching.
bleaching.
Oh, and
I
we can't
remember
forget,
when
Moschino and Versace, notorious gay designers that every bad man have to wear.
Eh, okay, let me tell you. You see, when bleaching just came in, I mean, amongst men, anytime the regular average Jamaican man, anytime he saw bleach, I mean, I said, look on the bottom man there. It's like a bleaching man was synonymous with a Batman. And then bleaching, with cartel made bleaching, what have you, but pre cartel bleaching was rampant. Cartel made it like de rigueur, but before that it was rampant. It was not a thing that he He helmed it, yes, but he didn't spearhead it. That was all over Jamaica, and so and I think back, for instance, I don't know if you remember this British comedy, Are You Being Served? Do you recall
Yes,
it?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, about this department, really situational comedy sitcom set in a department store in England, and you had various characters. The lady who changed her wig color every day, and the favorite character of virtually all Jamaica was a fellow whose actual name was John Inman, and he was a gay, very flamboyant gay. We've always had a love affair with gayness, and I think our Boom Bye Bye and We No Par in a Chichiman Bar and all of these slew of anti-gay songs is nothing more than methinks the lady doth protest too much, and an ode to the Batmanism that is rife through our society. Right now, if you ask me to bet an amount of money that, was significant to me, that I would hate to lose, as to whether more than half of Jamaica's male population is gay or straight, without hesitation, I would bet gay. Without hesitation. And it reached a stage where I see on social media married women saying, "Hey, what's really going on? I have single friends that tell me they cannot find any eligible bachelor who is not gay." In such a circumstance, for gay people to talk about being persecuted and talking about home, it made me want to just, sure.
Is it different for women though? I remember there was some controversy around Diana King and how she has been received by Jamaican society. And even Bounty Killer came out and made statements such as, him never collaborate with her when she was gay, and collaborate with her when she was straight. Um, and I know there's a feeling in Jamaica that a woman can't really be gay, like lesbianism is dismissed as, it's just not taken seriously. Is it that gay men have more power and gay women are the one being marginalized, even though all they really push and the funding is really for gay men? Any thoughts on that?
Men run the world, so they always have power, whether they're gay or straight.
Very true, very true. Leighton?
I agree with
Yes.
her. And there's something else I want to mention. I think I find the coffee phenomenon fascinating. Um, you remember when her first hit, when it appeared on Obama's playlist,
Yes.
and of course people just think, "Oh wow, Obama." I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Obama's heavy LGBTQ agenda, everybody knew that this girl was gay presenting. What I found interesting is Jamaica's obsession with, because they love her music. So, but they don't want to say, well, she's gay. And of course, in the same way that you would only know that a gay man was gay because he was effeminate presenting, extremely effeminate presenting. Same way you would only know that a gay woman is gay by her being extremely masculine presenting. And it's not just Coffee's dress. to even see coffee ride a bicycle, coffee just everything about coffee is like very man presenting. And Jamaicans don't want to just say, I love coffee, whether she's lesbian or not. They have to find a way to make her a tomboy. Like, a whole lot. How old is she? Like, when she's 30, she's still gonna be a tomboy, you know? But I think, for instance, as you know, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent. Do you know how many male netball coaches Jamaica has? Homophobic Jamaica. I gather that so many of our reggae girls are lesbians as well. I mean, you know, I,
But you know,
but
Leighton, you spoke of coffee. So there's another young lady who came about around the same time as coffee. Leela Ike. I believe she made a post about having interest in being in a relationship with a woman, or perhaps at some point she thought about it, and she said one of the contributing factors was because she was sexually abused when she was young. I don't believe she directly said that she was gay, but I know she said she had entertained the thought or something like that. And I remember there were a lot of people, I think Queen Africa is one of them, that came out and bun her out and bun out Chronics and bun out Protege because she had made that statement. So I'm saying all of that to say there is some anti, oh, Kay says she remembers. There is some anti homosexual, anti lesbian sentiment that's still strong. But of course, as you said, is it strong enough to say that they're being persecuted? It's like saying anti blackness is strong, but are dark skinned people being persecuted? Are they being lined up on a wall and being told to meet the firing squad? That is how they would make it seem. It's not that they're simply saying there are prejudices because it's a Christian country, because there's a Rastafari country. They are literally saying gay people are walking around fearing for their life, which is so ironic even in the context of the Gully Queens video. Because how can people be fearing for their life and walking around in belly skin and makeup as men? What are your thoughts?
Kish, if you say that, then people will turn around and say, what do you expect if you don't expect for people to be able to express themselves freely? But you're quite right. Um, and it's funny. I was just walking on the road the other day. As you know, the average Jamaican male on the road has his pants slung so low that in more than half the cases you're not seeing just the tops of his underwear, but you can see his ass crack.
The things I often consider, going back to the earlier definition that we found on homophobia, is it even real? Is the fear of homosexuals even real? If we go back to, as I said before, growing up in Jamaica, there was always a space for effeminate men and women who were masculine presenting. I don't recall, and you're free to correct me, I don't recall there being this major issue, certainly in Jamaica and from what I know of African history, that there has been historically this major focus on marginalizing quote unquote queer people. I just don't know if we are truly fearful of homosexuals, or if that's something that has also been foisted upon us, foisted upon our culture. We examine our history and our culture at its core, if we truly see what Europeans are calling a fear of homosexuality. I think this I think this concept of intolerance is really a European thing. You know, it's a strange kind of contradiction, but I don't see this culture where we see in European countries where skinheads are bashing homosexual men's heads in. Where, as Leighton said, waiting outside bars with baseball bats to beat homosexuals to a pulp. I just don't see that as part of our inherent culture. I think that's something, if it exists in small pockets, it's something that we have adapted or has been foisted upon us. Ryan Otep, welcome to Truth Gangsters. What do you have for us this evening?
Oh, hi, Isha. Nice to meet you. This is my second time visiting your space. Glad to be here. Um, yeah, Jamaica is definitely homophobic.
Can you expound on why you say Jamaica is homophobic?
So, I'm not a member of the community myself. I grew up in Jamaica, for lived there for 26 years, 14 years in the US. And I don't know if your experience is, I don't know if we're in terms of age group, we're in the same age group, but my experience in Jamaica, it's really bad. Uh, even in the US, Jamaica is no, even among people who are homophobic, Jamaica is known for its homophobic nature. And I think that's in terms, and I don't think in terms of what you were saying that it's actually inherent to our culture, or whether it's something that we adopted or something um, that was as a result of religion, but it's definitely there. I mean, when I when I was growing up, stating that you say effeminate. There's a differentiation between effeminate men and being homophobe and being a homosexual, of course. So there were definitely effeminate men, and we made some sort of space for that. Not necessarily in terms of them being totally included in the conversations, but we didn't beat them up for being homophobic. But in terms of admitting their sexuality for the men who were, that was actually like a death sentence for a lot of people. Close, and when I say death sentence, I don't not mean hyperbolic. I know of many incidents where I've seen guys get their, get beat up and terrorized for being suspected of engaging in homosexual activity. And I've seen, there's so many examples. I find it um, interesting that, and I'll land there for now. We can go into the definition of homophobia after, but that's different.
Thanks for that, Ryan. Ryan's point about these instances that he witnessed of homosexual men being attacked, it would appear to me that random incidents of homosexual attacks is not in and of itself sufficient to label an entire culture homophobic. I would think, and of course, Ryan, you can respond afterwards as well. I would think for a country to have a reputation of being homophobic in its entirety, you would have to show where systematically, culturally, there is significant oppression, and we can talk about legally as well, of homosexual men. And based on some of the points Leighton raised earlier, the power that homosexuals have in Jamaica, it just seems to be that it's a difficult case to make. On the one hand, you're so powerful that you could fire Dr. Bain. get him fired because he made an unflattering report on homosexuals. And on the other hand, say, oh, woe is me, I'm so persecuted because Jamaica hates us. Someone explain it to me. Leighton, you want to start?
Yes, I want to say that I I really don't want to trivialize the experience of people who in certain communities um have had really a hard time by virtue of being gay. At the same time, I don't want to sound repetitive. I've been in inner city communities where people, and let me not say, people are widely suspected to be gay because that's enough to beat somebody. Like, they're gay presenting, them look gay, you see them now on a woman, you see man never come check them, and oh, sodomite, I want to beat him up. I also know of cases where everybody knows that the person is gay and the person is a valued, celebrated, respected, well loved member of the community. And if anybody should bring up anything about, but isn't that what have you? People just kind of like, and nobody really want to discuss it because they like the person. So even at the school that I went to, there's a guy that we used to persecute a lot because everybody did all the same as a Batman. And there was another fellow who was a year or two below us who eventually became head boy at the school. Um, and everybody, everybody just accepted that that guy was gay. He was so flamboyant. He was so, you know, I don't know. I remember the criminal registrar, rest in peace, Mr. Daly at the Supreme Court. Like, is there anybody who, and everybody loved Mr. Daly. No matter how people burn out Batman, how could you not like Mr. Daly? And Mr. Daly was like the very definition of a fairy. So, is it complicated? Sure. Um, a lot of times is homosexuals beating out homosexuals trying to prove that they're not homosexual. That happens too, you know. But this thing like I read about homophobic countries. I read about even countries that are supposed to be not homophobic. And when I see the kind of gay hate crimes that sporadically occur there, nothing like that happening in Jamaica. So you know, I think we need to pump the brakes on that narrative. You know, if gay people are getting their ass handed to them in this case or that, that's not because the whole place is homophobic. They might be in a homophobic neighborhood on a homophobic. Like, you don't put that on Jamaica. And they talk about like boom bye bye. Also, how many people get shot because of boom bye? Boom bye bye is so popular and budget so this and that. So where is the people taking up Uzi and Matic to kill Batman? It don't exist.
Ryan Otep, you mentioned the fact that there is a difference between a feminine presenting man and a gay man, which I agree with. But in many cases, wouldn't you agree that a lot of the beatings or the harassment that we see is when they are found in the act? Would you say that's a fair? Because people just walking around beating men because their pants a little bit too tight or they sway their hips a little bit too much, or is it the instances that you know about where they have been caught red-handed, so to speak? involved with another man.
I mean, of course, I mean, being the way, but the way I think the way you're describing it is saying, okay, all right, they can be gay, but they can't be gay in public, which is homophobia. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean,
But
they're not gonna beat
what
a
is
man
being
generally for suspecting. But if yeah, if they confirm that he is, of course, he will get his all of the things that negative things that happen. So I mean, I don't see where making that distinction changes the fact that we are homophobic. And I mean, I know that's the thing. I just want to say this. I mean, a lot of people we don't like negative associations made to us, and even as a culture, especially for as a country, we don't like the idea of being considered, oh, but I think for me, even coming to America, I had to learn to deal with my homophobia, we know what I realized, and I mean the whole point of the phobia, which I think goes to the definition, is it's irrational, right? The whole idea of irrational, an irrational fear. So it's not fear in the sense that necessarily, oh, you're scared of them. It's a fear in the sense that I mean you have this contempt or this hatred or this will uh, any other negative word that you can think of towards a person because of their sexual orientation, right? And I mean, and as I said earlier, it's something that I had to cope with, and I mean, I realized that after living in America, a lot of the fears or the contempt that I had for people based on that was actually irrational. So I mean, that's what I'm talking about, and I mean, I think there's if we can acknowledge that, then we can move forward.
Well, I'm not sure what it means to be gay in public. If you're saying that um, the incidences of assaults are when men are caught in sexually precarious situations with other men. It's not acceptable in Jamaica to have sex in public for heterosexual people either. It's you don't go on a Jamaican bus and see couples swapping tongues or fondling each other. That wouldn't be acceptable either. Mind you, I'm not saying they're gonna beat a heterosexual couple, but it's just something that is still seen taboo. That's the word I'm looking for. So I
Keisha,
don't think. Hmm. Go ahead.
no, that's not 100% true. I mean, I went to a high school where that's literally that all that happened on the buses from Brownstown to Ocho. So I mean, I mean, we did do those things. I mean, not sex all the way out, but I mean that. So I mean, even if that did happen. I mean, and I'm talking about with women. So I mean, but if a man doing it, of course, would have been totally unacceptable. And I mean, and that's
You as
homophobia too.
children were swapping tongues in front of adults on a country bus.
Well, not necessarily. Not when you say in front of adults. I mean, so it's
That's
like I
what I
mean,
mean.
not in a
That's
regular.
what I mean.
No, but I'm just saying. No, I mean yes, but no, yes. It's more so. The thing. These particular. I mean, it happened. It happened on regular buses sometimes, but most of the time is like. I mean, if you understand. I mean, I don't. It depends on where you live, how the bus
I
system
mean,
work. But I
just
mean, in
let's be clear. Everything happens everywhere. Everything happens.
yeah.
The point is that it will never happen on such a scale as to be deemed acceptable, whether you're heterosexual or homosexual. So to say that a gay man doesn't have a right to be gay in public because he doesn't have a right to tongue kiss a man in public, that's I would not agree that that's discrimination. I wouldn't agree that's
Could
but
they
before
hold
you go on,
hands?
Ryan,
Could they hold hands?
I've personally seen gay men holding hands in Devon House. I've
Yeah,
seen gay
there.
men in carnival. I've
Well,
seen gay men in carnival whining on each other in the middle of New Kingston.
well,
So
that says to me that we're
I
less
don't know.
homophobic than when I lived there, but it doesn't. We're still homophobic.
Hope Gardens, welcome to the stage. Thanks for joining us. What do
Yes,
you have
greetings,
for us
greetings.
this evening?
But wow, homophobia in Jamaica. So I don't know, Keisha, because I kind of was listening to what you're saying, and I never really thought about it like that. That some people might be homophobic in Jamaica, like I say, but or pockets of it, and then the whole entire Carib island is classified as homophobic. Is that what you're saying? Because
Well, that's one angle. I'm saying that and incidences of homophobic attacks, I don't think justifies an entire
yeah,
nation
I never
being.
thought about that. I always just be thinking the same thing, Say Jamaica is one of the more, because I've been seeing it even in some statistics when I'm talking about which country is the most, Jamaica comes up, So I really appreciate this perspective, giving me the food for thought, to really think about it. But to what Ryan was saying about people where, there was women too that was what would I call them? More masculine, emasculine. Should you say feminine men? And nobody never really. I don't think they got that much heat as men who were seemingly more on the with the feminine tone. Because I have an auntie I grew up with an auntie who was like looked like a man, but she was married and have kids. It was kind of a little bit confusing, and she just always seemed to want to do everything. You know what I mean? It's weird, but yeah, I'm just gonna listen a little bit more because I was,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No,
You know what I
we had
mean?
I
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you ever noticed that? Because me and my auntie, when we grew up with when meeting, she was a boy. From a distance, the way how she dressed like a man, she go on like a man, but she had a husband.
Boy, I hope I was saying earlier that in Jamaican culture, it's very, very common that everybody had a gay uncle, a gay auntie, or when I say gay, they were either openly gay or everybody called them gay. Nobody beat them up. They just said, him kind of funny or your uncle
Mm-hmm.
kind of funny. Everyone grew up with that in their family. There was one person that was queer. Let's use the word queer. Whether they dressed like the opposite sex, talked like the opposite sex. So this whole homophobic thing, I'm not so sure. But Ryan Otep, I wanted to go back to something you said about homophobia being an irrational fear of something and that it's not based in anything concrete, scientific, or real. I find that an interesting comment in light of the Brendan Baines report. For those of you who are not familiar with it, Brendan Bain, I believe he was asked to give a testimony in Belize. Leighton, you can correct me regarding the feasibility or whether he recommends that the anti-buggery laws be lifted. And ultimately, he recommended that they should not be. But the reasons he gave were tantamount to the fact that MSM, man to men having sex with men, present a possible health risk. And he cited examples of countries like France, I believe Amsterdam, where there were no anti-buggery laws and that they were having a health crisis because of males having sex with males. So I'm thinking about this in light of this idea that fearing homosexual is irrational. How irrational is it? And is it justified, Leighton? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, I'm not gonna follow up being on that because men are having sex with men all over Jamaica, and there is no prosecution of the buggery law. So let's leave that to the side. I don't know if uh, Ranatep is actually aware of the the dangers of depopulation and what happens when a society is unable to um, replace its population. Its birth rate is below the repopulation rate. And there are several countries in Europe that are struggling with that now, that are employing all kind of draconian measures, whole scale immigration, giving people house, job, what have you, if they will simply populate certain areas. and giving conception in, bonuses and incentives and so forth. Like basically, we'll take care of your children for the first 5 years. Just please have one, have two, have as many as you
It's called the
can.
birth dirt side effect. That's what it is called. It's called the birth.
So,
Now, once you have a certain percent of your population becoming homosexual, to a homosexual advocate, or somebody who is really pro homosexual, it might be great for 60 to 75% of the population to be homosexual. And then what of your birth rate? That's just one thing where the fear is not irrational,
but
and
But Leighton, the reason why I mentioned Brendan Bain wasn't had nothing to do with the prosecution under the Buggery Act. It's because he essentially, in not so many words, justified the fear as a health crisis, that there was a greater risk of increasing the spread of HIV/AIDS among populations where anal sex or sex with men is widely accepted. A lot of people theorize that the rise or spikes in HIV that we're seeing in certain parishes in Jamaica is because of the rise in the scammer groups, which many have theorized. We don't know how true it is because there's no official reports. But many people on the street are saying that the vast majority of the scammers are gay men. So, in that sense, people can argue that it's not an irrational fear because there are increased risks of diseases associated with anal sex. Is that unfair?
um, no, I mean, I think both of the situations you cited there are actually irrational. I mean, I'll start off with the health issue that you're referring to. I mean, is there an increase in risk of STDs related to homosexuality? There is, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But is it a causation or correlation issue, right? And I think there's a lot of conversation about that regarding, health outcomes and sexual activity and the practice of sexual activities in people. So the interesting thing about that is, I mean, the fact that we are concerned that legalizing homosexuality will mean an increase in HIV and all of those things is not true in America. I mean, right now, Africa, Uganda, there's a lot of countries who are do have anti-buggery laws, who have worse cases of STDs and HIV than more modern countries. And I can cite, I mean, working in the insurance industry for 10 years, that interestingly, gay men, in fact, the gay population have better health outcomes than the average black man. So, I mean, is there a risk associated with the activity? Yes. But I mean, is if the real concern is health, then I mean cigarettes kill way more people in Jamaica than HIV. Road accidents kill way more people. Alcohol kills way more people. Diabetes kills way more people. So I mean, if it's really the health issue that we're concerned about, why do we have those activities to be legal and not that one?
So Ryan, you're saying people need to stop eating starchy food, otherwise
Well,
they're not
yeah, I
going
mean,
to.
health. I mean, there's and that's for me, it's a little bit strategic because I mean, what I realized, and I mean, even Bounty Killer said this at one point. I mean, when I really think about it, the energy, the focus that we placed into condemning homosexuality was really it was not a priority. I mean, there were so many other things in Jamaica that were worse. Like, I mean, uh, teen pregnancy, pedophilia. When I say pedophilia, I mean I'm talking about all the bus drivers and conductors and taxi drivers who were actually having sex with schoolgirls. That was way more prevalent and way more detrimental to our kids than homosexuality was. So that's the first one. And the second that you refer to, Leighton, um, I don't think that legalizing it is going to make more men gay. This is my experience, and I mean, a lot of those guys that you said were effeminate, a lot of them did turn out to be gay, and I mean, I didn't find that out until I was an actual adult, and I was like, that one in 10 guy that you always thought was kind of different, and then you find out, oh, he's really gay, and I mean, I don't think for me at any point I had any inclination to be gay or to have a relationship with a man, and I don't think that that is going to increase just because we legalize it. I think the people who are gay will be gay and the people who are straight will be straight. And there might be a few who might drift from one side to the other, but I don't think the likelihood that legalizing gay would actually, homosexuality would actually reduce population or reduce birth rates. That's irrational. I mean, I don't see any
I
evidence
think
of that.
I do believe that you're conflating the issues between homophobia and anti-buggery laws. The two don't necessarily coincide. Because they could change the anti-buggery laws today. That may or may not affect the level of homophobia in Jamaica. What I understood Leighton to be saying is that the fear of homophobia, if we accept it's a fear, the fear of homosexuality is linked with the fear of decreasing birth rate. Not that legalization is a way, or rather, the banning of homosexuality is a way to prevent men from being gay. Our entire conversation before shows that it has no effect because over 60% of Jamaican men are rumored to be gay or bisexual. So I think you might be conflating the two issues. We're speaking of your reference to homophobia and whether it's rational. And the two arguments being put forward to it being rational has one to do with population decrease and secondly to do with health issues. Now, you spoke of us not placing emphasis on the issues that are important. That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. The funding, the documentaries, the reports that are all focused on this homophobia that doesn't exist. Whereas we have more pressing issues that needs to be addressed, like many of those that you listed, that should have our focus, which don't, because people are constantly forming organizations, making pleas, making asylum applications, claiming that they're being terrorized by homophobia when we should be talking about the multinational fast food companies, the 15 Starbucks that just opened in the last 2 years in Jamaica, the 30 odd KFC restaurants in Jamaica. So we agree. What we're saying, homosexuality is not so much of an issue. The persecution of homosexuals in Jamaica is a non-issue. That's what we're saying. Leighton, you wanted to respond?
So you're saying 60% of Jamaican men are either homosexual or bisexual? Or
Yeah,
is that what you're
I've
saying?
never heard that statistics, and I don't even think it's anywhere close to
I
true.
would I would
It sounds
respectfully
ridiculous,
I
actually.
would respectfully say, Ranotep, that the experience of Jamaicans who live abroad is very different from Jamaicans who live here. We see it every day. We go into a store and see that 6 out of 10 men are queer. I won't say gay or I won't say bisexual. I use the word queer, which I think is most appropriate here.
Wow.
Keisha, as someone who's worked in statistics, when
Wow.
you say see I mean, this is that's not how statistics work. You can't see
You
statistics.
can
You can't see
absolutely
someone is
see
gay.
queer men. That is why I use the term queer.
So I mean, if you're
So
whatever
when I
you're
say
seeing,
queer, let me explain. So if we look at the percentage of men who bleach their skin, the percentage of men who dress in a particular way that is associated with homosexual dressing in Jamaica culturally, right? The percentage of women who are also masculine presenting and dress in a way associated with the queer community. Visually, we can see that. Visually, when we do business in Jamaica, we can see the vast majority of people are queer presenting. We have Pride Day in Jamaica. Pride Day is celebrated in Jamaica, sir. That's not a homophobic. Nobody shoots up Pride celebrations in Jamaica. The police doesn't go, even though we have an anti-buggery law, the police doesn't go to any Pride celebration and haul off men. That simply doesn't happen. What is the physical, tangible evidence of this homophobia of which you speak? Where are people in our courts being prosecuted for anal sex? It
Um,
doesn't happen.
um, can I remind you of
okay, I mean,
something?
we're at an impasse, so I'm gonna have to leave because this is just ridiculous. I mean, if we can't even accept that we're homophobic, then I mean, there's no conversation to be had.
Well,
Catch you
perhaps
later.
perhaps you misunderstood the title, Ranotep. The very title of the room is questioning whether it exists. So there's no way you could have thought that we are accepting that homophobia exists when the title says, "Is it propaganda or reality?" We're here to probe that. So no, we haven't accepted that homophobia exists in Jamaica. That's what the discussion is about. If you don't want to have that discussion, very well. Leighton, what you have for us?
You know, as you mentioned about queer presenting, and Ranatep seems to think that's, you know, not accurate.
Late your mic, funny.
I beg your pardon?
No, your
You
mic,
you're kind
yeah,
of breaking up. I don't know if you want to move to a different spot.
your mic is
Okay,
like
is this
funny.
better?
A little. Go
Mm,
ahead.
Yes, I was saying that it was years ago that Capleton came out with when me left from Jamaica go a foreign pan tour. You remember the
yeah,
line them say
yeah,
can't tell the
preach.
woman them different from the man.
Hmm.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we're
Yes.
hearing you.
And that was in 1990 what? 1995, 1996, and things have only become progressively more progressive or regressive, whichever way you want to look at it. Since then, um, if you go into any bank, insurance company, anywhere that white collar male workers are, 90% of them are gay presenting. They all have a style and manner of dress, the skin tight pants, the pointed toe shoes. They all speak in a very effeminate way. Our media is ripping through. Like how China come the other day and say them looking for masculine presenters in media among their males. Because of course the Chinese have I guess maybe their homophobia is not as irrational as ours, but them come out publicly and say, yeah, it's a policy, a media policy of the Chinese government that in state media them looking for masculine presenting males. Jamaica's white collar male force is not 60% queer looking or queer presenting, not 75% queer presenting neither. Ryan Otep, I challenge you to say to present anything otherwise. The man, the Mobian man, Bishop, that them claim said dead, the human sacrifice man. Look here. Um That guy had police outriders at his birthday celebration. That guy fucked street boy across the length and breadth of this island, and everybody know, and nobody no make a move. You talk about pedophilia, pedophile that you think say Peter King. You know how when Peter King was in full swing, all the boys them were used to almost block Waterloo Road. You think people wasn't concerned about pedophilia then? Once you're a big batty man, you have complete sway in Jamaica. Everybody know that. Everybody know that. You see the question that Keisha asked to begin? Say, if it's a class, if lower class Batman don't have no rights, since we know say top class Batman control Jamaica right through, why them don't just extend the rights? Them could repeal the anti-burglary law right away. Them could make it so that the freedoms that they enjoy in their parties and shooting them video at Peter King, that those freedoms could be enjoyed the length and breadth of the what have you. I can tell you that Tibalites will make you know, say, gay people have full rights in a Tibali when do this there. So if we're going to talk about uptown and downtown, let's talk about how gay man, a man in a Tibali, say some anti-gay thing, and a brother just get up and walk away. Because at him, they want to throw word pan, a queer-looking guy in the bowels at Tivoli. And when them a throw them word pan him get up and walk away. And when him come back with those right hand, we say, yo, hey, them low stock, you know, for go on, boy. Yeah. So when you talk about, I'm looking at a country where people are on Twitter, not creating mischief, literally casting about and saying, if I'm looking for a young, upwardly mobile, decent dressing, respectably educated, professional man, I cannot find one. I had a sister. She teach at a university in London. Her bestie have a gay bestie, a male gay bestie. And every time he hears about homophobia in Jamaica, he laughs because the biggest gay club in his part of England, I don't know if it's London, him there or wherever, a whole section of it is taken over by yardies. Like that's their part of the club. You think it's Zeeks and Dudish is the only man done with a Batman? You know, long me I hear about Batman done. Not to mention the south side one where I sex off the whole of them and them for the ear Jordan. You cannot convince me the scamming racket is controlled by gays. The same taxi man when in 2006 tell me about the south side man. Him tell me about the scamming and how much the gays and police control the lot of scamming initially and still control it up to now.
Tanya Clark in the chat says presentation of statistic data is something that I believe should be done with great responsibility and context. I don't know if Tanya might be suggesting that some of the examples being given are anecdotal. Um, I'll allow you to respond to that after Leighton. But Rhino, did you want to respond to Leighton?
I mean, I don't even know where to start. I'll just say this. I mean, I think this would probably be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you get anyone on stage has any gay. I'm not even gonna say gay friends. People that you know to be gay.
Of course,
I'll
of
say
course.
that.
We live in Jamaica, of
Okay,
course.
ask them if they think Jamaica is homophobic. I think that would be probably the most informative process.
Leighton? What do your gay friends say?
Um, I don't know. The one person that I would say I definitely know to be gay carries his boyfriend to functions and so forth. And he's a lawyer. Nobody can tell him nothing. You know. Look
Ask
here.
him, ask him, ask him. Just
No,
ask
no.
him.
Look here. Why would I ask a man who is taking his boyfriend to functions and make everybody know same boyfriend whether Jamaica is
Leighton,
homophobic?
Look here,
ask him,
Leslie.
You,
Look
ask
here,
no,
him,
Leslie.
hold on.
ask him.
You, no, 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 look here. If a Jew tell me that I'm anti-Semitic for saying they mustn't kill Palestinians, I'm going to take his thing into account. No, so if I'm sorry, you must be joking. No, so if
All right,
he
so
so
you
if
don't want to
he
ask a gay
feels
person, okay?
so if he
Okay,
feels that Jamaica is
understood.
homophobic, I must agree.
No, I'm not saying you should agree or not. I'm saying ask him. Because I mean, and the thing is, I mean, if I as living outside of Jamaica, right? I mean, anything I say is going to be invalidated based on the fact that I live outside of Jamaica. So I
No,
mean,
no,
ask,
but tell us,
yeah,
tell us, what would be the relevance of asking a gay person, is Jamaica
no, because I
homophobic?
mean,
Is it that you're saying, just a minute, is it that you're saying that a gay person has a better understanding of homophobia than a non gay person? What's the relevance of that question?
so that well, I mean, in fact, I'm gonna say yes. I mean, I don't if I can go into detail, expound on it later, but I'm gonna say yes. Yeah, they do understand, and I mean, for the same reason where and I mean, I worked in corporate America for years, and there's a lot of white people. If I ask them, "Is America racist?" They'll say, "No, it's America is not racist. I've never experienced racism," but they're white. You get it?
Leighton, you want to respond?
Them would I think I mean it depends, Keisha. It depends. I think I don't know. I think most maybe a gay person would say it depends that Jamaica is homophobic if them leave and start look back in. What they're
Hope,
gonna say. Huh?
come on, come on, Hope. I need you to be more bold on this
Hold
subject.
on
I
now.
mean,
Hold on now.
you and wait, Hope. Let me just say one thing. You and I
Yeah.
have been in many rooms
Yeah.
where we've been accused of being homophobic, and
Yes,
you've been
yes.
and Jamaicans have been
Jamaicans, yeah.
assumed
That's
are
what I'm saying.
homophobia.
But you know what? Let me finish. Yes, that, just like you said, we outside. I'm not saying Jamaica. I think Jamaica is some aspects of it as it relates to homosexuality is will be considered homophobic. And me personally, I live away from Jamaica for almost 40 something years. Being there, I would never be thinking that. When I leave and I have to get schooled, me never even homophobia wasn't even a part of my vocabulary, for a long, this I had to come here. I've been here since I was like 22 years old, Ryan, and I've learned over time, even that I was black and I'm not black, and all these other stuff that I've learned. So that's why I made that point. I said, if from the if I'm outside now of Jamaica, looking in, yeah, I would say, because what I'm saying, I would say it's homophobic. But this is what I was gonna say. Most white people, them not gonna say, American are racist. Them gonna probably say them not racist. You know, that's what most white people do. Them rather think about tell you about how you being accused of being a racist make them feel. That's what I'm more concerned about. How you making them feel,
Yeah.
as opposed to
No, I mean,
addressing.
I'll just say one more thing because I mean, as I said earlier, it's like I mean, my acclimatization to a different society has taught me a lot. And you know what's interesting is like I forget sometimes about Jamaican culture and our homophobia. So it's like and I've seen like many anecdotal examples. I'm not saying it's statistics. I'm just talking about anecdotal examples here. So one of them, I went back to Jamaica like 2 years ago, um, and I was at a party and with one of my friends, And I mean, and it was like, okay, I was Margaritaville we were at, and I was like, well, where we at Margaritaville? I was like, I was like, well, let's go to a local dance. He was like, you sure? I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, he's like, oh, I know a party are going up the street. Let's go up there. So I was like, I went up there, and I mean, there were if everybody was dancing. I was like, yeah, this is the vibe that I want. And then there were like two guys dancing, and I mean, and this I would accept is that I mean, Jamaica is a lot less homophobic than it was when I was there because I mean, these two guys, I mean, and I don't even want to go into the whole opinion of masculine presenting versus because I mean, to be honest, it's like what if I were going off looks, yeah, I would probably concede that a lot of the guys at that party looked gay, but 90% of them were not because I saw them,
Thank
you
you
know,
for
with
admitting, Rhinata.
no, no, I mean, no. This listen, no, I'm not. I'm just admitting that they look as what you would consider to be gay, but
No, I
but most
used
of
the
them are
word
not. And if
queer
you
and you wanted to challenge
well,
statistics.
well, no, I mean, no, I didn't challenge that at all. I mean, in terms of the whole idea of us saying that they look gay, I think is a hidden aspect of our homophobia that deserves deeper discussion. But not, I don't even we're not even there yet. So let me just tell you the story what happened. So it's like the two guys they were dancing, right? And I was like, I mean, I used to like dancing too. So it's like, I mean, they weren't dancing together in that way. They weren't dancing together like man and woman, but they were just dancing. They were doing. So I think I don't even remember what dance was out at the time. So it's like I learned the dance. Oh yeah, I think it was something that what they call it again the one that with TJ the one the song
Drift.
yeah, drift. Yeah, they were doing the drift. They were doing the drift. So it's like I wanted to do the drift too. So it's like I went over there and I start drifting too. And it's like my friend pulled me back and I said, "What you do?" I was like, "What you say? You say I fish them?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" I mean, he was pissed off by the fact that I would dance beside them. So that's homophobia.
No, not necessarily. Well, Linus in the chat asked that we have a definition of homophobia. I'm going to repeat the one I used earlier from Britannica online. A culturally produced fear of or prejudice against homosexuals that sometimes manifests itself in legal restrictions or, in extreme cases, bullying or even violence against homosexuals, sometimes called gay bashing. The term was coined in the late 60s, used predominantly by an American clinical psychologist. The suffix phobia generally designates an irrational fear, but in the case of homophobia, the word instead refers to an attitudinal disposition ranging from mild dislike to abhorrence of people who are sexually or romantically attracted to individuals of the same sex. Homophobia is a culturally conditioned response to homosexuality, and attitudes towards homosexuals vary widely across cultures over time. And, I want to be very clear. Prejudice exists in every people in all aspects of life. There are certain people who don't go in a route taxi if there's fat people in the back of the bus. So I just find that the language and the homophobic agenda is just a very alarmist agenda that is not warranted given the state of homosexual power in Jamaica, right? And based on this definition, anybody who doesn't go and embrace a gay man and say, "Hey, come to my house, yeah, yeah, let's dance together, let's wine and dine," anybody would be homophobic. But
So
Um, yeah, no, can I
sorry,
say
go
something?
ahead. Yeah, sure.
Um, I agree, Kishi, and this is where I part company with the gay agenda. It is fascist. Listen, Jamaica is a well homophobic place because man can't dress up like them gay. Man can't go out dress up like them gay. Man can't dance with gay man a party. That's what made Jamaica homophobic. You see, when I get over all of that, it's homophobic now because although they can dance, two fish can dance one side and nobody not trouble them and they can be as flamboyant and what have you as them want. If your brethren say, see you go for dance with them and say, yo, where are the my youth? Cause your brethren might have think say you're heterosexual and they might have think say, boy, you know, through the fine so long and everything mix up, you don't really realize that them a fish. So them say, yo, where you do? Them a fish. Him don't come and say, yo, fish, when are you doing here? We can't do that because so much fish there
Leighton,
about.
Leighton.
Now hang on. What?
Allow him to finish, Ranatep, but you can go afterwards.
Yeah. So it's a situation now where let's leave off at the dance. Let's say a man have him gay son. Son come to him and say, Daddy, I'm gay. And the father said, John, oh, really? How long? What have you? What have you? Um, Father, don't kick him out of the house. Father, deal with him like what have you? What have you? The youth decides him, I'm gonna get married and ask him father if I'm gonna give him away. And the father say, nah, sorry, like, me can't go so far. And suddenly, that is homophobic. Like, like if you don't embrace their lifestyle, their choices, their what have you, whole way, then you're homophobic. It's not a thing about tolerance anymore. You are not allowed merely to tolerate and to say, well, do your thing and, I know my thing and, well, no, if you don't embrace and what have you, you are homophobic. Man, come on.
Yes, because Ranatep, based on what you said, if a straight man goes to a party and it's filled with gay men and he says, hey, guess what? This is not the scene for me. I'm gonna leave. That means he's homophobic. People don't have choice anymore. If I go to a party and it's pure man a bun weed, I don't want to be around people that bun weed. I don't bun weed. I don't smoke. If I don't eat meat, if I go to a party and it's pure pork ribs and chicken and fish that stink up the place, I'm going to leave. We're in this concept, because this is a new definition. We're in this concept of homophobia. Do people have the right for preference of association, preference of ideology, preference of religion? What is the line to be drawn? Can I not dislike something because it's offensive to me, who I am as a person? Is that not okay?
So, I mean, there are two things. I mean, at first, I want to respond to what Leighton said earlier, and I do want to respond to what you just said as well, Keisha, because I mean, I'm using my anecdotal example as well. Well, I mean, Leighton, the first thing, I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier, sir, but you said a word that, I mean, I used to use as well, but I find deeply contemptuous now. And I mean, I'm not saying I haven't used it, but I mean, it's usually in a very negative manner. And that's something I've learned to check myself on. So, for example, you call them fish. I mean, do you think they like be called in fishes? Do you think being called a fish is a positive or a neutral thing? I mean, I'll ask that question for if you can answer that, and I mean, I'll do the follow up. But I mean, I just want to answer that. You answer that first.
No, man, I only say fish because that your friend did tell you. So, may I work off of the
No,
example.
I mean, my friend did not say. Well, my friend used the word because I knew the word, used to use the word, and I know the word. But I mean, here's the interesting thing. So, I mean, when I moved to America, right? And I mean, it's like, started working in corporate, and I mean, they have rights, all of those things, right? And there was a guy in customer service, um, and that I didn't like, and I had issues with him, and some of it was associated with my homophobia. And I said to one of my coworkers, who was a Puerto Rican guy, who was also very racist, interestingly, but for other reasons. But I said, I can't stand that fish. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, that's. It was like the guy. I was like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, that's what we call them in Jamaica, fishes. He's like, Ryan, I don't want you to lose your job. I like you. Don't say that again. And I was like, damn, and I mean, he didn't know what fish was, but he understood that it was a negative word term for homosexuals. And I mean, then you can't do that. So I mean, the whole point I'm saying is that the
Rhinotep,
whole,
Rhinotep.
yeah,
The phrase fish is not a negative term for homosexuals. It's a term for homosexuals. There's a difference. Just like Batman is not a negative term, it's descriptive. Batman, Patois is a descriptive language. So I don't know that it's necessarily a slur, but we could agree to disagree. Continue.
no, I mean,
No, but
if I
I'm
call
saying,
Leighton a
I'm
fish, if
saying
I
that
call Leighton a fish,
even
he would be very offended.
Because he's not a homosexual. But that doesn't mean that
Exactly,
a
and he
homosexual
associates
no,
being
is.
a
no,
homosexual
no,
being a bad
no.
thing.
But hang on. Let me just clarify. The only reason I said fish in the context of what I was saying and the party vibes and the example was because in your example you said your friend say, yo, she said that man they are fish. So I'm not saying it of my own self. I'm putting myself in the mind of the regular Jamaican at the party who all of them is seeing and saying what your friend is saying.
Yes.
But all of them are what the so-called quote unquote fish them a dance and nobody now step to them, nobody now trouble them, nobody now deny them for have no drinks, nobody now interfere with them, none at all. Yeah, so hang on a second. So you're looking at a situation where people are able to enjoy themselves freely and openly without harassment, without bad eye, without no bad vibes. And you're gonna say that such an environment is homophobic because the people that are not homosexual, that are just standing around, part of enjoying their company and allowing them to be free in their company because they would look and say, yo, them man, they are fish. You are saying that that makes the society homophobic?
So I mean, I haven't gotten to that. So I mean, I was gonna get there though. So I mean, to go to the earlier point, I mean, using an example. I mean, so we'll talk about the irrationality. So what was rationally bad about me dancing beside these guys?
You didn't ask your friend.
Oh
You
no, I mean,
didn't ask him why
no,
why was
I
he
didn't
happy.
have to ask him because I know.
So tell us.
No,
Maybe a friend. He's thinking in his mindset whether the guy them is fish or not. Him probably a say them look like fish and them no know you him no know you for be a fish. So him sorry, I'm using the word too.
no,
Just because
well, nah,
just
me and him had
because
a conversation about it after, but I mean, you can continue. So,
no, I'm just saying maybe him said that to you because him don't know if you want to be seen in any type of association at all. Maybe that's what I'm saying to you. I mean, I'm just thinking like a typical, just like,
well,
oh, Ryan, probably,
no, well, I
you
think,
know,
Yes, which is exactly what Leighton
that's just
said.
probably
But
what he
but
must say.
Ranatep,
Because even if them are not fish, Keisha, but them dress and look like it, your virgin does say, him not know you as such. So he might give you the warning, be careful, because if you go over there, birds of a feather flock together, in essence,
well,
That's what makes it.
no, you got to the last point. You
Sorry,
got to the
sorry. Can
last
I
point.
say something? Can I, 1 second, can I just say something before we move forward? I notice a lot of this talk going right throughout this conversation about gay presenting but not really being gay. And I want you to interrogate the concept of somebody living in a homophobic society who is not gay but dressed that people would think that he's gay. I want you to interrogate that concept and ask yourself whether that makes any goddamn sense to you.
So this is a funny. I mean, it's funny. I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, this is something I've spent so much thinking about that. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. And I mean, even before, and I mean, my awareness came even before I left the country. I still had the homophobia, but I was probably less homophobic than a lot of my counterparts. So I mean, and I'll touch into that quickly, but I do really want to get into what the originals. statement I was trying to make. So I mean, I remember like a weird incident. I mean, when I was 16, in high school, it was a very popular thing in Jamaica. I don't know how popular it is now, but I mean, it was probably even among different classes. I mean, piercing your ears was actually a very common thing about men, and I had both my ears pierced. And as I said again earlier, and I don't, I feel like I need to reaffirm this. Not gay, never been attracted
Please
to men, never even
don't
thought
Ryan
about
Atep.
it.
We want you to get to the answering the
Yeah,
question. You
I'm
don't
gonna
have to
get
defend
there.
your sexuality.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, I mean, but it's funny because I was dating this girl, and I mean, her dad was a doctor, a very respectable family, blah blah blah. And my people had a business, and she it's like she popped into the store one day, and I was like, I mean, I didn't wear the earrings around her because I knew how conservative her parents. Sorry, when I went to visit her parents, I didn't wear earrings because I mean, I didn't even wear it around in the house with my mother most of the time, for the same reasons. And it's like when she saw it, it's like she went back and told my girlfriend, it's like, oh, why is Ryan wearing earrings? And she was like, "Oh, it's a style of, high school that these young guys are doing." It's like, he doesn't know that there's stigmas attached to men who wear earrings. So, I mean, the point of, presenting gay or looking gay, and I mean, there's a lot of things that people have presented as looking gay for people who are obviously not. So, I mean, to cover that's what I wanted to get to there. But to go back to the point or the example that I'm using, I mean, so there probably was some concern about my friend from my friend thinking that I mean I don't know these people to be gay and I'm not gay and do I want to be associated with gay people? And for me, that is the homophobia because I mean, particularly me dancing alongside these guys is not going to make me gay. The fear of me being associated with gay people is homophobia. But I don't think the fear was just for him. For me, I think the fear was for him as well because I'm his brethren who come from foreign. Me and him hanging out. If his friends or his people see him hanging with a guy that was dancing beside a gay people, they might suspect him of being gay as well, and that would be dangerous to his reputation. So, and that's homophobia also, right? And it's true because it would, and it was mostly for him and for that concern that I did not continue dancing alongside the guys because I mean I don't care.
What would be the actual danger to the reputation? I'm
They would
curious
suspect him
about this
of being
danger.
gay.
And would result in what? What would be the
I
actual
mean,
harm?
do we need to go into details on that?
Yes, because that goes to the core of the point. If homosexuals are able to walk around freely without fear of their lives, without fear of being beaten, generally speaking, if they're able to move up the corporate ladder, own businesses, shoot to the highest heights of fame, what is the fear that you're talking about? What is
You
the
know who the
threat
Gully
of being
Girls
gay
are?
in Jamaica?
You know
Come
the
again?
Gully Princesses. You're familiar with the Gully
Yes, we
Princesses?
spoke about them before
Okay,
you
all
came
right.
on.
So I mean, so that I mean, we can talk. So that was the other point I was trying to make. We can talk about power dynamics and the way that a lot of powerful gay men in Jamaica have been able to insulate themselves from the homophobia, which is there. I mean, like, and you gave big examples, Peter King, and I mean, I can give you even more examples because I mean, I mean,
So it's an issue of class and not
no, yeah,
homophobia.
it is class. I mean, I've had a lot of friends in Jamaica who I knew to be gay, and some of them admitted to being gay. And one of them is dead now. You're probably familiar with him, Dexter Pottinger, and a lot of people in that industry as well. So I mean, I was actually a Saints model for a little time period. So I mean, I associate with a lot of those people who are in those hidden communities, and I mean, and all of them would have accepted. And I mean, all of them would have accepted that Jamaica is homophobia, and all of them would understand the issues with people publicly acknowledging them as gay. So I mean, it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like it just sounds so weird to me when we're saying, oh, Jamaica is not homophobic. I would actually appreciate more if we were saying, okay, you know what, we don't support, we're homophobic and we're proud in our homophobia, we don't support it. But if we're gonna say, oh, Jamaica is not gay, I mean, not because you can't kiss in public, not because you can't do certain things, not because nobody is shooting you in the street for being gay means that we're not homophobic. I mean, there's different levels of homophobia. So yeah, them might can walk in the street, but them can't go into certain business. Them can't be associated with people. Certain people don't want to be associated with them. They might be
Is
able to get
there,
certain jobs if they have qualifications, but if
Ranatep,
they don't, yeah.
the critical question for me, and then I want to move on to something else. Is there any significant difference between the average straight person and the average gay person? All things considered, because ghetto people suffer no matter whether them gay or straight. Black skinned people suffer no matter whether them gay or straight. Locke said people face discrimination whether them gay or straight. So on when all things are equal, is the average Jamaican who is gay suffering and being persecuted more than the average Jamaican who is straight? Leighton, thank you, Ranatep. Leighton, oh, you wanted to respond before I move on to the next question?
Oh, oh, to what Brian
Who
Otep
is
Yes.
said.
Peter King?
I don't know if Brian Otep knows that gay people generally are wealthier than straight people. I don't know if he
That's not
knows
true.
that. Okay, I'm talking about
Different
in Jamaica.
demographics of them. Yeah, I
I'm
would say.
talking in Jamaica. That's not even in Jamaica. That's not even a debate.
You
You
know
know.
all the
So
gay people in Jamaica, Leighton.
So the girl, the princess,
all right,
them rich.
never mind. Ryan.
The girl, the princess, them rich.
All right. Sorry, you're
No,
saying
I was
hope?
asking him what is the financial situation of the girl, girly
Oh,
princess them.
they live on that bridge in a gully. Most of them
Oh,
were
and
kicked out of their
one more
houses.
question. One more
Most of them were kicked
question.
out of their families.
Yeah, the most of them get kicked out. But one more thing. Who is Peter King? Cause we look him up and him dead.
Former ambassador, top political
Who killed him?
representative
Them not find out who
in
killed him yet.
Jamaica. Huh?
Them not find out who killed him yet.
I think he was killed by a lover.
Oh, so he must open the gate.
Close enough.
Ryan Otep would say no, because he was married to a woman.
No, I didn't.
Oh, so
You
But
you can't say what I would say. I mean, I would never say that.
yes, I think he would say no. But
alright, so
he
him dead. I'm find him dead. We never even know women's until my sister yet out him.
yes, yes.
Find him dead in him house.
But
Wow.
and by the way, Hope, that is not unusual. A lot of wealthy
Mm-hmm.
homosexual men in Jamaica
Get killed.
are are suffering or have suffered violent attacks from their lovers. I would go on to say that they're mostly attacked by their lovers, not by
Mm-hmm.
random people just
Yeah.
angry that you're doing drift next to a man in a tight pants. But I want to say something though to Ryan Otep's point. In fairness, I think if we go on the very basic definition of what homophobia is, I think he's correct. Looking at, because the definition of homophobia is very, very, very broad. Whether you have any dislike forever, whatsoever, any discomfort, any reservations at all, that makes you homophobic. So I will concede, if with Ryan Otep, if we are using that very basic, that very broad definition of what homophobia is, then three-quarters of the world is homophobic. I think where we part ways is that this homophobia, so to speak, is so rampant, is so violent, that it calls for Jamaica to have the label of being the most homophobic place in Jamaica, that it calls for the justification of people saying that homosexuals are being marginalized and persecuted, all of that is false. Are we uncomfortable with gay men? Sure. Does our religion speak against gay men? Sure. Are there legislative issues around the sexual habits of gay men? Sure. So I guess in that sense, you would say Jamaica is homophobic. But all the other extra stuff, I would humbly disagree. Leighton, you had taken your mic off early. Did you want to respond?
I want to say something about statistics. I think that what causes people to measure statistics is when they see an incidence of something that is so significant that they think that it is necessary to measure it statistically. If every second person you meet on the street is bleaching, then if even statistics tell you that 10% of the population is bleaching, either you're gonna believe the official statistics or you're gonna believe your lying eyes because you for yourself are seeing that every second person you meet is bleaching. I know most of what I know about Jamaican society from taximen. Whoever taximen says gonna win the next election is gonna win the next election. Taximen live on the street and they have the pulse of the street. What I know about gay society and gay norms and so on and so forth, I know mostly from taximen who are non-discriminatory because they're all in it for the money. And the passengers who pay the most money, the most regularly, their favorite customers are gay men or just
That's
gay people. Point
100%.
blank.
You know,
And they will tell you that those people have the most money. But if you consider that the scamming group is controlled by gay people, which it is, despite people trying to pretend that it's not, which is another thing I have a big problem with. You know, if you're subject to so much prejudice and so on in society, why are people afraid to say that you control the scamming racket? And you know why they're afraid, Kishi? May I tell you why they're afraid? Scamming come with gathering, scamming come with contract killing, scamming come with human sacrifice, scamming come with all manner of occult things and what have you, and they don't want to put gay people at the fulcrum of it. So they pretend like say scamming is not controlled by the gay community. It is. I have close friend whose sister is a scammer and can tell you about the scamming world. Top scammer.
Some of our
Bringing
colleagues at the
guns.
criminal bar as well can confirm this,
Of course.
Leighton. Not
So,
a secret.
bringing guns and guns and guns. Uh, Look here. So, when them talk about themselves as however them want to define homophobia. Suppose me don't want my girls start walk wide on me. Cause my brethren may come from foreign and dance with some man we obviously gay in a party. I may have to go tell her, say, Ray, Ray, Ray. A lot of women having issues because they're having sex with men who are having anal sex. A lot of women in Jamaica are having issues because they are having sex with men who are having anal sex. Of course, I don't have no statistics. You know,
But
there's enough
that because
anecdotes.
that could be also because some of them is still not coming out. They're not saying that they're and so if you that use how would I say it now? So you have your girlfriend, she don't know that she's bisexual, and she always, you're supposed to be steady. God forbid him probably no one use a condom. All type of things because she probably suspect. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. People is. So those are some of the things that can happen to why I don't know. The being able to be open is you know can be if they're not can be very dangerous for the woman that they're sleeping with. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because 9 times out of 10, if a woman see she and her man are go steady, 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 and them not use that, what I'm saying? They weren't using condom. All of a sudden, you pop with a condom, or the guy probably don't even want it because he don't want to be make her feel like he's cheating. So that type of things. I'm just saying, not the not having the whatever it is to be openly gay in Jamaica, I guess can affect the women. That's what I'm trying to say.
So I feel like
Sorry, Ranatep. One of the things that many people won't admit, one of the reasons why gay men won't, some of them won't admit to being gay, has nothing to do with being afraid of persecution. Men who are bisexual in Jamaica yield a certain power that they are not willing to part with. So having a baby mother and having boy toys, there is a certain power of being involved in both the heterosexual and the homosexual world openly.
Mm.
And so this idea that I have to pretend I have to have sex with my girl and have sex with men because I'm afraid that Jamaican society is gonna beat me up, I would say that's not true. They like the power. They want the, especially in the some of the inner city communities. As a top man have to have baby mother. A top man have to be a gallus, whether he's gay or not. So they're not going to fully come out and say they're gay. It's
Mm.
nobody can beat them. They just don't want it. They like being DL. But
Sorry,
so,
please, can I say something? I
mhm.
used to have, by the way, Guinness is right through the go-go club them. But I had a taxman brethren that used to carry a go-go. She was dealing with a Don. I don't even get somewhere off the boulevard. One of those communities off the boulevard. But so she came home at an odd hour because she lived in the community. So she said, just drop her off here. That was the Don's house. A couple guys were on the veranda, but him at the Don, so boy, ever there round the yard. So when she came out of the taxi now, she said to the guys, Trevor is around here. And they didn't answer. So she just walked past them and went around. And so she proceeds looking for him. She proceeds to the bedroom and he's in there carrying on with another man. She's shocked, she exclaims. And he sees her, of course, jumps up and says, like, let him explain. At which point his boyfriend says, so this is the bitch you been fucking. Like, you know. So of course she just run up back to the taxi man and tell him what just transpired, which is how me come for know. You know how long ago that was? That was like 1995, you know? So like the idea that, you know, these guys are, you know, having to keep their secret desires. And this is part of what when you push this homophobia thing, where it gives the impression that this is what's going on. That's not what's going on,
Don is
you
the
know?
The done them is not a done anymore. Them is done it up.
Hope you're not easy, but listen. So I am going to start wrapping up, but I would love to hear the final thoughts of everyone on the topic. I'd like to just go around on the persons on the stage. Kay, would you like to give your final thoughts on this issue?
I don't know why I think so can't sleep. Oh,
I hope we had more time because this is a very deep conversation and it's very insightful. And I learned some different perspectives on the topic. That's all.
Thank you so
me
much
have a
for
question
joining.
though. So, because
Oh,
I've
go
been
ahead.
gone from Jamaica for a long time. I'm not gonna lie to you. Be living in Jamaica, I can't tell you that I have had or seen an incident where somebody get brutalized in front of me who was gay, or anywhere close to me. Never really did it long enough to see the outcome. So that's gonna ask. So, and back then, even though I didn't witness it, it was a little. I think, in my opinion, it was harsh. Because people used to have phrase like, people run fast like X amount of gay men. I don't even want to say the B word. Because I used to hear those things. And if me this and you say you run fast like da 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 da, because that's all that means in the neighborhood. If them see a person who is from the community, that's how them gonna behave. They're gonna be chasing their ass out of the community. They're gonna be running fast like whatever, whatever. And I just heard those things, and it sound bad to me. So is it better now? Is that what you're saying, Keisha? People are not as so crucial towards people. Even though I didn't hear the word homophobic being referred to people who had an issue, like I said. But is it worse now? Are people are more amicable towards people from LGBTQ in
Well,
Jamaica?
some would say it's worse. Depends on what side of the debate you fall on. Definitely, there are
Mm.
more instances of people being openly gay. People, there are gay parties, there are pride celebrations, um, you name it.
Because growing up,
So
nobody really couldn't be openly gay. It's not mind about if somebody openly gay.
exactly,
Then I come
exactly.
look for
So
them.
the totally opposite exists now.
Okay.
Ranatep, would you like to give us your final thoughts?
Oh yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, I grew up in Jamaica 26 years. I mean, a lot of my experiences are what informing my opinion on the culture. And I still visit Jamaica frequently, but I think um, I feel like I made some progress. I'm not going to go back, but in terms, I mean, the conversation here today. But I think in terms of homophobia, I think what I'll probably end with focusing on is the rationality of it, right? Because I mean, I particularly was one of the extremely homophobic persons, and I even hate saying this. I actually, in the past, I mean, had did very homophobic things towards people we suspected to be gays. I mean, I used to live on Yui, and our hall, I mean, it's like, I mean, if you were suspected to be gay, you would get what we call a lashing. So it wasn't necessarily always physical, but I mean, it was very bad, right? And when I it started before I came to the US, but I mean it evolved way after. And I realized a lot of the fear or a lot of the contempt or a lot of the negative I had towards gay people was totally irrational. Like, I mean, like your taxi man friend saying earlier, Leighton. I realized, I mean, a lot of the people is like and I mean, I'm not gonna say this as statistics because I mean there's good and bad people everywhere, but I had the same experiences your taxi friends had where I met a lot of people who were gay, openly gay in the US, and I realized that they were actually really nice people, a lot of them more genuine and and generous. Uh, um than or there was their straight counterparts, and it had nothing to do with them being attracted to me or anything. I mean, and there's probably reasons for that too, but and I can't go into it because I'm not a psychologist. But I'll say this is like, I mean, if I had not been able to overcome the level of homophobia that I had, there's a lot of great people I would have never met. And I mean, even a year ago, I learned with this. I mean, I had dinner, Christmas dinner with a gay couple in the building that I was living, and they were like, Ryan, and how it happened is like, I mean, it was I was by the pool and they were there and they're like, oh, Ryan, what are you doing for Christmas dinner? I was like, well, all my family in Jamaica this weekend, so I'm probably just gonna chill. And, oh, you wanna come to us for dinner? I was like, sure. And I mean, I had such a great time there, and I mean, it was funny, and I was like, you know what? I told them I was like, I mean, it's surprising. I mean, how great people you guys are, and it's not because they're gay. So it's like, I mean, I think when we put limits on ourselves and we have prejudices towards people that are not based on anything that they've done to us or anything that they would do to us, we limit ourselves. And I think if more Jamaican men can actually do that, I think we'll make a lot of progress. That's it.
Everybody limits themselves to something. I don't know this American worldview where hey, anything goes. I mean, what do you associate with KKK? Do you associate with murderers? There's prejudice in everything. Anyway, Leighton, go ahead.
About a year or two ago, there was a story in the paper about a man that had been gang raped by some gully queens on Cargill Avenue. So this was a fella that worked at a call center. His car was in the garage. The company bus would take them home, but he was really, really tired and he was lost on the company bus route. And he had taxi fare, so he decided that he would just walk from, it was in New Kingston, he would just walk from Chelsea Avenue, where the call center was, to halfway tree, where at any time of morning, okay, it was like be about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so in that quarter mile, walking there, he was ambushed and gang raped by maybe five of them and left naked and bleeding in an empty lot on Cargill Avenue. Now, when people heard that, when that story came out, and you see the reactions to it, a lot of people tell you about close calls that they or relatives have had along there, so and it's not safe, etc. Can you imagine marauding gang rapists in Jamaica, um, 5, 10, 15 years ago? Because you see, when I don't want to be long-winded, but what I hear us saying is that Jamaica is a different place now than it was then, and it's carrying the same homophobic tag. And apart from when Ryan allowed that, well, then he's in a party with a lot of queer-looking guys, which by itself is different from what would have happened when he was at Huey. And there's no acknowledgement of that. Not even to say, well, you're less homophobic than you were. No, you're still number one in homophobia. And, as you said a while ago, Keisha, I mean, if because I don't want to spend my Christmas with a gay couple, um, you know, if my if my if my revulsion towards anal sex is irrational, then okay.
As long as I'm not hurting anyone, as long as I'm not attacking anyone, I'm free to have my ideological preferences with things that I align with. I don't align with everything. It's not possible. I'm not going to align with a racist. I'm not going to align with a red pill man or a manosphere man. I don't have to love everyone. I don't have to be we are the world. I think that's a false narrative that because you don't accept everything, that there's something wrong with you. If I travel to a Muslim country and they say, Kish, you can't wear them batty rider, because our culture rated. Should I be angry with them? Should I stomp my feet and say, this is rubbish? This is prejudice because they should embrace me in my batty rider? They're gonna say, look at this idiot. This is an Islamic country. Respect our norms. Who gets to tell another group of people what their norms should be? The focus, I agree, should be on abstaining from violence, abstaining from abuse, systematic oppression, which we can see doesn't really exist in Jamaica against gays. But outside of that, to tell me that if I don't go to a pride march every year, I say I don't want to participate in that something is wrong with me, something is wrong with my culture, seems like a reach.
Man, I'm enjoying myself. Jamaica guys are pure excitement, are pure going up. The girl, them look on the man, them look better. Man, I like Jamaica full of batty, man. Bad to bad. One time, them used to bust Blanca for me, now them want bust juice. And I mean, think sometimes have changed out here, but I'm with it.